Mr. Fantastic is not only the master of flexibility, but actually one of the strongest picks in Marvel Rivals Season 1. You'll be happy to know Mr. Fantastic is a really easy player to pick up, being the first duelist hero to have 350 HP, and doesn't actually have a strong skill ceiling, meaning he's probably one of the best all-round duelists to win you Rivals games. And even beginners will be dominating lobbies by the end of this video, so drop me a like and let's get going. Now I'm going to do this guide a little differently because you need to be playing Mr. Fantastic by focusing on his passive. Let me explain. So Reed runs off a metric called elasticity, and when you use any of your abilities you increase your elasticity. Now why on earth would you want to do that? Well, it's because once he reaches 100 on the bar, he can then morph into his elastic strength form. Once he's in this form, not only does he generate increased health, but also deals more damage. Now this form does decrease your overall range and only lasts for 6 seconds, but despite these nerfs, it's incredibly powerful, especially when it grants you a whopping 950 HP, which is insane. At the end of this video, I'll show you how to use this as effectively as possible, but this is definitely his strong spot, and it's important to understand how and when to use this. So Mr. Fantastic's primary fire is his fists, and he reloads after... No, I'm just kidding. He has infinite fists. He can just keep going. Now, here's why absolutely anyone can do well with Reed. So you really don't have to have the best accuracy in the world to play this hero, because although yes, you can direct hit your enemies, if you do miss while the animation is still playing, you can drag his fists through enemies and still cause damage. So in theory, you could literally aim towards your enemies and just wiggle your mouse or controller around and you're bound to do some sort of damage. It's also great to know that you can even hit multiple enemies while doing this. So if you see a big crowd of enemies, you can literally injure all enemies in one swing. Granted, this attack doesn't do the most damage and takes around 5 hits to kill squishes, but you do get +5 elasticity with every hit. And remember, Mr. Fantastic performs best in his passive tank form. So for his abilities, first we'll talk about Reflective Rubber, which allows him to stretch out his body and absorb a whole bunch of damage and then bounce that damage straight back at the enemies. So although it's great for absorbing damage, there is actually a limit, which is 300 damage points. So you'll often find yourself trying to absorb damage and then instantly coming out of this form if you absorb damage too quick. What's great, however, is he cannot be interrupted while doing this, meaning he can't be stunned or hooked. So even if Jeff the Shark tries to swallow him, he's completely safe. As we saw in the trailer, he can even absorb Iron Man's ult, which just goes to show he's great for tanking a lot of the ults in the game. Now, this isn't foolproof though. You see, he can absorb unlimited one-time damage, so he can even survive Scarlet Witch's ult, but if Moon Knight ults, for example, he will absorb the first hand, but will be knocked out of his Reflective Rubber, and after that, he can be killed. Now, his next ability can either be used aggressively or defensively. This is Flexible Elongation, which gives Reed a shield. Then you can either dash towards an enemy and deal damage, or you can dash towards an ally and give them shield health, which also improves his mobility. This can be great for not only helping teammates or killing enemies, but it also gives you roughly 30 elasticity, making this one of the better abilities to get into your tank form quicker. One tip I would highly recommend giving you is to turn on Allied Health Bar, and you can do this through settings, as you can see right now. I also mentioned this during the Magneto guide, which you should also check out by the way, but it's a great idea as you can 100% save teammates on critical health. As well, you can double stack this shield health, so in a sense, Mr. Fantastic is almost a vanguard, duelist, and strategist. This ability grants you a total of 2 charges, so you can use this back to back, and use it again soon after, as there's only a 6-second cooldown. It's also great for grab, jumping, and dashing towards flying heroes, as he's fairly effective against Iron Man and Storm. Next up, we have Distended Grip, which allows you to entangle not 1, but 2 heroes and pick them up and throw them at each other. Now again, this is very beginner friendly, as once you've hooked the first enemy, Firstly, you get 4 seconds to find the second enemy. And then once you do find the second enemy, you don't even have to be really accurate at all. As long as you aim in the rough vicinity, you can grab and smash. Also, it's good to note that you can displace enemy targets, as you can use both hands to grab one hero and pull them towards you. So if you can grab a squishy, pull them to the center of your team, you'll probably win the team fight. Funnily enough, you can actually use this ability to pull enemies off of the map. So if you could grab a high HP Vanguard and literally throw them off the map, you'll definitely have a good time in this game. This ability also, of course, grants a good amount of elasticity. Now, time for Mr. Fantastic's ult, which I'm sorry to say, in my opinion, is a little underwhelming. This ultimate is Brainiac Bounce, which throws him upwards and slams him into the ground, dealing damage and slowing enemies. This ultimate doesn't do the most damage in the world, but it does definitely displace and disrupt the enemy team. Once you pop your ult, you get a minimum of 3 slams. However, when you hit an enemy, you get another slam, and you can continue this up to a total of 6 slams. You should definitely understand that this ultimate doesn't give you any extra health, meaning you can get killed pretty quickly. So either use this at full health or use it when you've activated your passive. I've personally found this ult most effective if you use it inside in a small ceiling room, as the animation is a lot faster because you don't go so high up in the air, and you can also spam it a whole lot more. It also gives you decent mobility, so if you need to, you can use it to get out of the team fight. Finally, we have the team up, which is activated alongside Invisible Woman and is called Wedded Harmony. This allows Invisible Woman to tap into her powers and grant Mr. Fantastic damage resistance and herself bonus health. To be more accurate, however, Invisible Woman gets a 15% healing boost as she is the anchored character, and Mr. Fantastic gets regenerative health, so you can put the shield on and regenerate lost health. He already has great survivability. This just helps him to not die even more. To be honest though, it's a decent team up, but it's definitely not the best in the game. So how can you play Mr. Fantastic as effectively as possible? Well, for a start, you can play him quite a lot like Thor, almost like an off-tank mixed with a DPS hybrid, because he doesn't do crazy damage, but can tank lots of health with not only his 350 HP, but his 950 HP tank form, which is more than his double base HP, and as well, he has a lot of CC. I think Reed is an all-round decent hero, pretty strong to be honest, but definitely more of a team player and not a greedy character. Realistically though, the more uptime you can get in your passive form, the more effective he is. One of the best combos you can do is to grab the enemy, pull them towards you, give them a punch, bash into them with flexible elongation, do this again a second time, which will put you on 100 elasticity. You can then pop your tank form as soon as possible, because if you don't, the elasticity starts depleting. Then you can do massive close range damage, and by the time you come out of this tank form, guess what? You've got all your abilities again, and you can just restart the cycle, which is why it's important to cycle abilities correctly, ensuring you have everything before a team fight occurs. That's been the best Mr. Fantastic guide on YouTube. Leave a like, subscribe, and check out the Invisible Woman guide. See ya.